again. Welcome back for another round with our Neuroart. I am back for a second week in a row. Yay! I'm trying to get back into a little bit of a better routine. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. I did not get a chance to do a little bit more off camera, so it'll probably be a little bit of a long series. So this week I am going to start with the rectangle. And rectangles, if I did not mention this in one of the earlier ones, rectangles are very grounding. So I'm going to start with that one. And color-wise, I'm going to use green because that's when I think grounding, I think outdoors. So a lot of times kind of with some of my rectangles, I do tend to use kind of like greens and browns when I think kind of nature, floor grounding. So just kind of a little bit of the psychology and the thought process and philosophy behind it. So I'm going to start with the rectangle today. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. For me this time, because I'm doing the rectangle first, I'm actually doing the rectangle color over the shapes around it, because I'm, again, with the thought process behind it, I'm trying to ground those particular items, those particular concepts, behaviors, ideas. Kind of my reasoning for doing that. So I'm trying to overcome those actions, those behaviors, those habits. So right off the bat, I'm doing the grounding first. Kind of hoping that, not hoping, but rewiring my brain to ground myself before I even approach those behaviors, before I even give color to them. Taking that neutralized, grounded stance. sometimes I do still kind of go over those colors when I'm coloring through things. You can kind of see right here that I kind of colored through them, and that kind of changes the color anyway. Kind of adds different layers of colors and color dimensions to it all anyway. And now I'm going to introduce a grounding flow to all of this as well. So I will start. I'm going to make this flow go upwards because I want to ground all of these concepts together, and this is going to be a flow that's going to kind of tie everything together so that all of my behaviors and actions get rooted and grounded in who I am and in my being. I'm going to kind of analyze this. Maybe actually I take that back. I'm going to, I think, take this flow sideways, not up or down. Stabilize. And the grounding is rooted, grounded in the ground. Kind of symbolizing that with the color scheme. But nature also kind of flows all which ways. But I'm going to kind of also use this to represent the flow of the past and the present, forwards and backwards as a timeline concept, as well as just stabilize. You know, if you are trying to stabilize yourself, people kind of, like if they're balancing on a balance beam, they'll put their arms out to stabilize themselves. So kind of using that concept as well. And again, I really approach this, if you listen to other neurographica art, you probably won't hear anybody else explain things quite in the manner that I do. As a music teacher primarily, I use a lot of different methods to explain things, a lot of analogies and picturesque concepts. So I have a lot of things up my sleeve in the way that I describe things, the way that I conceive of things. Right now I'm doing just the outlines of the flows, and then I'll go back and color the rest of the colors. So because I'm trying to connect the flow first and figure out where I want the flow to go all the way through. That way if I run out of time, I have completed my thought, since I'm not quite used to doing all of this way, where I'm kind of leaving the project for a whole week. I have the greatest intentions of coming back to it, and it never winds up happening. That's how life goes though, right? I have to say though, the intentions that I have for this artwork and what some of this represents, I can already feel the effects starting to weigh in. Not fully, because it's not complete yet, but I have already started to see some of the effects weighing in my life. And I hope that it's having the same effect for you as well. I hope you're experiencing something similar. I hope you're seeing, even if it's subtle, I hope you're experiencing some subtle shifts and some subtle relief to some of the issues that caused you to choose these to choose what you chose for this artwork. topics of this artwork. Hope you're finding a little bit of the power that it can already have. I actually saw a short little video someone made on doing this artwork, where she kind of, I think she said she kept a sketchbook with her, and she like lost her keys, and she immediately started drawing, and people are like, what are you doing? You're you need to find your keys. Why are you sitting down and drawing? And she started doing a neurographical artwork, and that actually helped her find her keys. Like that was literally her solution to problems, even like that. I had never heard that one before, so just something to think about, that it can literally hold that kind of power. So I will definitely kind of give that one some thought too. Give that a try, just even doing some smaller sketches and some smaller neurographical art for even everyday issues like that. I never even heard that before. So I found that pretty fascinating as well. If you notice, I'll kind of alternate on some of the smaller sections within the flow. I don't always do the shading. Kind of gives it also a little bit of a different dynamic, color dynamic as well, to do it that way. A little bit more variety. And when I do my shading, and then this is only actually, I think, for this particular one, I didn't do this as much, I don't think, in some of my other ones. When I'm doing my circles and squares, I'm a little bit more, I go along with the shapes. My shading is very circular, very square, but when I'm doing my flows, if you can see, I kind of do some of the shading a little bit more jagged edges. And again, this is just all subjective. It's all up to you. You know, if you're a very beginner, don't even worry about shading. Just kind of do your basic shapes. That is perfectly okay, just to get used to what you're even doing here. You know, you have plenty of time to perfect it all. And none of this needs to be perfect. This is, you know, just all whatever you want it to be. It can just be exercises. It doesn't even need to be you know, artwork that you hang up on your wall. It can just be something that you keep completely to yourself, and that it's just something you are doing for fun because it feels good, and that you are using as a tool. It can just be a tool. It's something that, it's a different way of approaching healing. So it's not, there are no major rules here in terms of, you know, that you're looking to become some perfectionist artist. I mean, if you really want to take it to that level, then sure, by all means, you know, go to whatever depths you want with it and look up other neurographical art and see what's out there, and see, you know, the levels that they do it with paint, and, you know, some of the beautiful artwork that's out there. For me, I don't really have, you know, if I'm going to do very fancy artwork. I personally do a lot more scenery artwork, but that's kind of what I started with. At some point I might get a little bit more into trying to make some of these, because there's some absolutely beautiful artwork out there in Neurographica as well. That's absolutely just as beautiful as any, you know, $1,000 paintings that, you know, you could purchase, in my opinion. So if that was something that you really wanted to get into, sure, go for it. Take as many classes as you wanted on it. Research it. Try and emulate some of those other styles and techniques. I'm just kind of giving you my personal insights on it. But regardless of how you look at it, I definitely truly believe that this is a healing tool. And that was its main purpose. And it was developed. And for that, you definitely need to follow the certain rules that it comes with. So that is the one thing that you definitely need to abide by. And not to create it just to create it for its specific inherent beauty. I think I do want to add this one other one that I kind of missed. I still might add more green flow next time, but this is at least where I wanted to start with. one thing, if you'll notice that I kind of leave the edges right here kind of open, the ones that go to the edge of the paper, when I'm doing the border of the darker color of the shading. Kind of leave that open-ended because it's flowing outwards. So again, there's a kind of purpose for that. Okay, so I think that'll be it for today. So here is where we are at and what we have. So shaping up with some color here. And I hope you are enjoying these sessions, and it'll take several sessions to get through this, but these artworks do take several hours to do, so just when you are thinking about doing an artwork, make sure that you do have several hours to do it. You really want to try and do it where you don't have to set it aside too many times and keep coming back to it, just because it does kind of interrupt your thought process. They do tend to be a little bit more effective, to be honest, when you are able to kind of keep going with it. That way your thought process kind of keeps flowing. So it does tend to be a little bit more effective if you do them in one sitting, if you do happen to have several hours where you can set it aside, or at least do it in larger chunks. That way your brain kind of really has the time to kind of get into that meditative state. And this is obviously not the most optimum way to do this either, where I'm kind of talking, giving instruction, like I have the meditative music in the background, but that's really the way that you want to approach this as much as possible, is to really allow your mind to go into a little bit more of a meditative trance and a meditative state as well. But this is, again, it's a learning process right now. So that's what I have for you today. So I hope to see you back next time. Thanks. Bye-bye. Have a great day.